Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mallory's Weird World Adventures, the podcast. I'm your host, Mallory, and I'm here to show you just how weird this world of ours really is. And I'm very excited today. I have my good friends, James and Gabby McInerney, here with me. Thank you guys for joining me. We're going to celebrate this spooky season and talk about all things paranormal. Yay.
For having us. We're really excited to be here.
And thank you so much.
Of course. Yes. So I wanted to start by talking about our investigation at Hanover Tavern last weekend. Gabby is part of a paranormal group, and they're really amazing because their approach is so different than anything I've seen before, because they analyze all of the data and findings with algorithms, which is just very cool and nerdy and sciencey in the best possible way. So I guess I wanted to ask you guys about some of the cool investigations you've been on in the past, and if any of them like stand out to you or exciting, or if you have any fun stories.
Oh, well, you've got that interesting one from Caledon.
Yes, I do. I have a couple fun stories, and it's really interesting because, you know, we're the group that I'm a part of, we come in with a very scientific view. So a lot of our members, while we're pretty diverse, a lot of us are very like technical and have some levels of skepticism. So when you go to these investigations in areas in Richmond and you have these experiences that you can't explain, it makes you like go home and think, you know, like, do I really know reality? I have been to places in Richmond. I remember the first real paranormal experience I had was just a door opening by itself, and it was not like, you know, a very dramatic open, but enough. You know, this was a door that was completely shut. It was 11 at night, and we all heard it, walked up, and there it was. And trying to rack our brain about what could have caused that. And, you know, you're like, is there something more to, you know, is there something, you know, multidimensional going on here that we're not aware of? And I've heard humming and, you know, chattering and voices before. It makes you stop and think, like, did I have enough coffee? But and people have those same experiences and they pick it up on EVPs, you know, it's kind of a validation in a way, saying, you know, this is what we are saying, you know, objectively, this is the evidence that we were able to pull. So
yeah, that's very, very cool. We had so much fun at Hanover Tavern too. I liked the mood was set immediately with the wolf spider.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
It was big. There was just this giant wolf spider. I arrived, and my camera person and Jimmy were setting up for an interview, and Matt, the camera guy, is like, well, our mark for the interview is that spider right there. It won't move. So people are just going to have to stand where the spider is. But of course, I came over and it moved.
Oh, yeah. It would not move for Matt. That seems about right.
Yeah. And it was cool being inside the Hanover Tavern because it's such an old building with so much history. So just kind of getting to explore it with the lights off was really fun.
Yeah, it was neat seeing like the different areas that have been worn down over time. Like I can't remember who it was that pointed out the wood and the way that it like drooped down, and the fact that like that was a hard wood. That's something that would have to happen over hundreds of years with tens of thousands of people walking past it before it ended up like that. And it was so interesting seeing how everything built up over time and clearly changed over the centuries.
Right.
yeah.
It's the stairs, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's really funny when you know, Preservation Virginia has a lot of really interesting places that, you know, they call CPRI out to come in and investigate. But, you know, it's interesting because when you go into a place like Hanover Tavern, where they have wonderful restaurants and plays and so forth. You don't always think about like the haunted history when you're there or occurrences that happen. So a common phenomenon too when individuals like kind of go into places that they've been told is haunted is they have like this confirmation bias happen to them when they're like, oh, I heard like a sound, or I heard something which is footsteps. And like the cool thing about like our group and what we do is we try to mitigate that bias, and we're like, okay, what is the first explanations that we can think of that makes more sense? Like, is it an air refreshener that's going off?
Right.
So sometimes like it's even better, you go into a location and you don't know that it's haunted. Like what happened to a situation when I went to a state park, and we had our headquarters set up in the supposed place that was not haunted, and we got more activity in that place because we had no idea that was going on. Like we had an EVP of a woman humming, like it was wild.
Wherever you least expected.
Yeah, exactly. Like we should have just set up our cameras here, and as soon as we do, like nothing happens, it goes quiet. But
right. A lot of shy activity.
Yeah, exactly. It just goes to show, like, you never know what you're going to walk into sometimes when you go in these investigations, or where you're going to find experiences happen.
Mm-hmm. I liked that Jimmy's history in ghost hunting was phasmophobia.
Oh, yeah. That was my experience. It was intentionally pissing off ghosts and getting them to chase me.
My favorite was when we started playing Phasmophobia for the first time, and he's like, I'm going to explain to you how the rule works. This is an EVP, or this is what an EVP is. This is an EMF detector. This is what it does. And I was like, oh, Jimmy, I know this stuff. You don't have to explain this stuff to me. I got it. I got the real world applications here.
Yeah, it was the ones that are kind of funny in that game are things like me and Gabby actually took a look at zoomed in really close on the prescription bottle, that's supposed to help with your sanity. And that thing, like, what do they call it? Like insanity pills or something like that. And it said, take until calm.
So just sedate you.
The ghost EpiPen.
Oh yeah, the ghost EpiPen. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like that game has a lot of fun Easter eggs. Like definitely read all this stuff. It's funny.
Is there a ghost EpiPen now?
Yeah.
It's like an adrenaline pen. If you take too much of the pills and you need to run, you can like inject it. It's not an EpiPen, it's an ectopen.
Ectopen, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
good.
like
That's
inject it, and it gives you like adrenaline to get out.
What did it say? It said give you ectopinephrine or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it made you sane and made you fast, which is a pretty good combo, I guess.
That seems really powerful in a game like Phasmophobia. Too many times we got locked inside of a building with an angry ghost.
Yeah, desperately calling our van guy to open the door, please. Yeah, the real thing is not quite so dramatic.
Exactly. It's a lot of sitting, a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
It can be though, when something like profound happens and you're like, what in the world was that? Like one of the explanations that we got at Hanover Tavern, it will be really cool once that you guys get the data and you can look at it, was one of the EMF detectors was going crazy, and everybody was saying, oh, it's environmental and so forth, and our lead researcher, our lead investigator went in and said, it could be just paranormal too. So,
Oh, that's so fun.
Sometimes there's an explanation, sometimes there's not.
Yeah.
Malorie, you were with me with the when we heard that deep, loud sigh. Who else was with us at the time?
I think it was a Matt with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all heard it, and we were all like, oh my God, what's that? And then we stopped and waited for it to happen again. And it was the second time where we were just like, that's an automatic air freshener.
I made the call on the air freshener, I have to say.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a perfectly reasonable explanation, and other times got no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. it was loud and dramatic enough that I think I was like, "What the heck was that?" Like it was. There were some exclamations there. Yeah, I love that stuff too. And Jimmy and I go back with the horror movies too. Jimmy's a horror aficionado, and now he's getting Gabby into all the horror movies.
Yes, we just saw the new Conjuring film, and for those of you out there who've not seen it, you definitely need to. It was the first time I've ever sat in a theater where I heard the theater scream.
It was good.
It was intense.
Wow.
It made Jimmy jump, and he's never jumped. So
it could be a couple times.
It was really.
Mallory, you know how rare that is. Like scares do not happen.
It was really good though. Like I've seen the first two. I haven't seen the Annabelle one yet, but
and you haven't seen the third Conjuring.
I haven't seen that one yet. But this one so far, I think is my favorite for sure. Yeah, it definitely adds a more intense psychological component to it. Also,
I'd say it's going to be between this and, I will say before, I think I put the second Annabelle film as the scariest one of the entire thing, Annabelle Origins. That one's terrifying. But no, I think this one is actually scarier.
Really?
Yeah, no, it'll get you. It I don't want to give away too many of the scares. You see it for yourself because it'll really get under your skin that way. But it had some very effective, very chilling shots. They had a lot of variety in their scares. I love that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it was good.
I know. I have to see it in theaters because they dedicated the film to Dan Rivera, who we both, me and Jimmy, knew. Yeah. And so I wanted to I have to go. I feel like I have to see it in theaters for Dan. Yeah. But I don't know how I feel about horror movies in the theater because it's so much more intense.
Yeah. It was totally worth it though. I could tell you after I came home, I told Jimmy, I said, we got to keep all the lights on and we're going to blast the TV as loud as it can.
She was not kidding. She turned on all of the lights. We did not turn those off until we watched the comedy, just use a little bit.
Yes. The ones that do it for me, I was terrified of Pet Sematary because the weird thing was everything about it, but the anorexic aunt in it really just disturbed me I was a teenager and I'm like, nope, I'm never gonna sleep again now. And the Chucky, I don't do dolls. I don't do dolls. So the Chucky movies, I have not watched them because anything I've seen from it, I'm like, nope. Yeah. Just not going to do it.
My early, scariest movie, it's not true now. There have been so many that are scarier these days. But when I was a teen, really getting into horror, I'd say it was The Exorcist. The Exorcist was just still a very good film. Still very effective. Still has a lot of great scares to it. It's just... I don't want to say it's old because it's still effective. It's just that there's been scarier films since. These days, I don't know. I got to sit on the fourth Conjuring. That was really good. Especially for modern horror. We've talked about what I feel about how I feel about modern horror. I, typically speaking, don't like modern horror quite so much. I feel like it lost a lot of what used to make horror a lot of fun. And these days, a lot of them lean too much on being uncomfortable and making that their brand of horror, especially movies with a lot of torture, a lot of blood and gore, and they focus on that as their big thing. I don't really like that. It just makes me queasy. That doesn't make me scared. It makes me nauseous. I don't like that so much.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I didn't you guys loved, and I didn't like Trick or Treat for that reason. It was just sometimes it's just too dark and it just sits wrong.
I agree. I could not watch that film after I saw it. I was very disturbed by it. I'm not saying there's people that certainly do love that film, and everybody has their own opinions and choices, and that's great. For me, I was like, not my favorite, but they have a big franchise that's popular enough that they have franchises of Spirit Halloween with it. So costumes. So
I like it, but there's also definitely stronger segments and weaker segments. I felt like the strongest one was the last one where Sam comes out and just terrorizes the old man for a good 30 minutes. That was pretty great.
was too much like a doll for me. He was too little. I didn't like it.
Did you just do spoiler alert to me?
No, not really. That's pretty clear within the first minute of that particular segment.
Did you guys see the new Nosferatu?
Yes,
Yeah.
we did.
Yes,
we did.
Okay, I'm curious because someone pointed this out to me, and I think I know why, but they said that women tend to not like it as much, but men love it. And I'm curious if that was consistent in your case or not.
I'd say that, like, no, I thought it was weird, and it gave, like, a very uncomfortable feeling to the whole thing, and I don't think it felt like gothic horror in the typical sense, but now that you mention it, come to think of it, it kind of reversed a lot of typical, like, old-school gothic horror concepts. It was true back in, like, the old days when gothic horror really first came onto the scene, that it was more popular with women than men, and it was written that way, too. It was very much written with a female romance perspective, and it was always like that, and that was a big deal. That was a big part of it from the very start, and this one reversed that. This one reversed that hard. Nosferatu was not what anyone would be attracted to. No one would see that and think romance. It wasn't a romance story from the woman's perspective. It was from the male perspective, which is a very, very different feel from classic gothic horror. And maybe, I don't know, is that why it felt so uncomfortable? Something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more so like subordinate almost, like promise to this. It was a very it was a really interesting film because you're like, oh, this it's kind of bringing in some concepts that are very controversial these days too, especially in terms of like women's ability to speak up and women's rights and so forth. And it was well done. It was just very different.
Yes, I think it lost the romance of gothic horror, and what you want when you watch Dracula is some of that romance, and I feel like that's what appeals to women in it. And this one leaned into the exact opposite and just kind of being gross and unsettling. And I think a lot of times, I know Jimmy, you're an exception, but a lot of times guys like that better. So I feel like that's kind of been the divide.
Yeah, honestly, that makes a lot of sense. And like when you say it like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, Nosferatu was essentially about like all of the negative aspects of a stalker. That's what it was about. It was about being stalked and like this horrible monster.
And promised. She was promised to him.
Yeah.
So blood fun.
Yeah. So no, I didn't really think about that, but now that you mention it, yes, it was the entire film. It was very obvious once you mentioned it.
I think that like Jimmy is like your first words after we watched it, because I was like, well, I want to see this, I want to watch it through, and you're like, well, that was awkward.
It was awkward. I think it's also, I think they were trying to really push the narrative that he brought the plague with him to London, and there was that too. So it was just gross and awkward.
Yeah.
Like plague.
Yeah. That was it was unusual. I think I like vaguely remember the original Nosferatu having more to do with like rats maybe than like Dracula did, or at least like the interpretations of Dracula from like Universal and Hammer later on.
Hammer is great. Christopher Lee's great. I just had to add that in there.
Yeah.
My favorite, my all-time favorite.
Yeah, he's still the best Dracula.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I they wanted Count Orlok to be more distinct, since I mean originally he was just a stand-in for Count Dracula. It was literally just Dracula with the serial numbers filed off. That's why there was a lawsuit back in the day with it. So I mean they don't have to worry about that anymore. But I guess they don't just want to make another Dracula to compete against the like billion other Dracula films out there. So they wanted to do something unique with it, and I can understand that. I can applaud that. That's a great idea. Don't just be Dracula 2, but you don't call him Dracula. It just the direction was weird.
Yes. Well, all I remember about the original Nosferatu is when they said, "Oh no, there's a werewolf outside," and it was actually just footage of a hyena running around.
Yeah,
Because back then people didn't have they didn't know about certain wild animals. And we'll just throw in a hyena. People will be shocked and terrified.
yeah. Yeah, they'll have no idea what they saw.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
So good.
Did they do? Yeah, they did something with a werewolf in the new movie, didn't they? I can't remember.
I can't remember a werewolf in the new movie.
Yeah.
I remember the all the rats and
Yeah, lots of it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't remember a werewolf distinctly.
No, maybe not. We've been watching a lot of horror films.
Yeah. I'm glad. I gotta up my game. I'm too busy editing season 2. I have no life anymore. Soon. When we were in Salem, it was a bunch of horror aficionados. And so I asked everyone who their favorite Dracula was. And our wonderful guy, Mike Victa, and we very much butted heads about that because he just loved Bela Lugosi. And I was like, no, Christopher Lee.
Yeah, Christopher Lee for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This was my first year experiencing the Hammer horror film, so I was kind of late to this franchise. And I remember we had a binge watch them because I'm like, he's so good. I want to see all the Christopher Lee Dracula films. And there's another great Hammer film too that we just saw. It was something.
Oh, The House That Dripped Blood.
Yes.
That was really good.
Really good.
Really?
I was surprised. It was one of those Hammer films that fell through the cracks for me. I hadn't watched it. The name rang a bell, but for some reason I think confused it with that short from the Hammer horror anthology, which was that
Hammer
was not
House of Horror.
Yeah.
And
that theme song forever haunts my brain.
Yeah.
It was very heavy psychological.
Yeah.
So
it was fun. It actually had a mystery that lasted all the way through the end of the film as far as what was actually happening. And it makes perfect sense once it's there and you're like, oh, okay. It's great. No, you should definitely give it a watch.
I'll have to watch that one. Is it a twist ending like the one where they're cannibals and they steal the people from the weight loss camp? Okay.
That was actually great. I love that. But this one's it's actually there from the very beginning. It's just not stated. And someone keeps saying, no, there's something happening. There's something here. And it's a bunch of different stories about things that happened over time at this one house. And someone keeps saying, there's a secret here. There's something that you're not getting to another character that's investigating all this, police chief. And it's at the end that's spelled out for you, just in case you hadn't caught on yet. And to be fair, you might start guessing it, but it works very well once you actually.
I personally thought it was a twist ending. I was not.
It was a good one. Yeah. All the clues are there. You can put it together. It's great foreshadowing, but you might not get there by the time that he just comes out and just spells it out for you.
Yeah. I thought you guys would find it amusing too. I don't know if you knew this, but all the Hammer horrors and specifically the Dracula movies with Christopher Lee actually started a vampire pandemic, where everyone thought vampires were real in London during that time. It actually started vampire paranoia.
I remember talking about this at one point, and I was like, really? I haven't looked into it or anything, but it's really interesting.
I have not heard much. I have not heard about that. I'm very curious now to learn more about that.
I remember just talking about it. What was it? People really thought that vampires were real and walking the streets, and there were people very serious about getting anti-vampire stuff because they thought it was real.
Yeah, so funny, so good. And then we watched the Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles, a couple years ago. Christopher Lee, and I never saw him either not as Dracula or not in Lord of the Rings where he's old. I never saw him young and not as Dracula. And I'm like, he's a tall, handsome guy.
He was debonair. Yeah, he played the last heir of the Baskervilles in that film, right? That was right. Yeah, and you're just man. I think we've talked before about Christopher Lee and the incredibly interesting and exciting life that he had before. He was MI6 before it was MI6. He fought in World War II. He was this incredible guy. There's even rumors that like because I think he is like his cousin was Ian Fleming, and supposedly like it's never been proven or anything, but supposedly James Bond was based on Christopher Lee because Ian Fleming talked to him and like learned about like his history with the Secret Service in England and all that, and based the whole thing on him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Christopher Lee was the real James Bond.
Yeah.
I like that he committed to like book Dracula, and he would only agree to do the movies which were just not at all based on the book Dracula if he could say a line from the book. So they kept giving him that one line from the Dracula book.
Yeah, he was a big fan of classic literature. He was a big fan of history. Like, he was such an interesting guy. That's why, like, I mean, Lord of the Rings was right up his alley. That was exactly the kind of thing that he loves. He was very serious about Dracula. I mean, very serious about it. Same thing with all of the other horror properties, Frankenstein, stuff like that. He had very strong opinions about how things should be done. And I love him for that so much. He even did, I remember one of the last projects I remember he did before he passed was a metal album, a historical metal album where he played Charlemagne and like yeah, he sang about the exploits of Charlemagne, his historical exploits. It's amazing. If you haven't seen that, like absolutely see it. Like don't just listen to it, see it too. You got to see Christopher Lee as Charlemagne delivering this. It's amazing.
Maybe I have to look this up. That sounds amazing, and not at all as I'm sure it's. I don't know. Maybe it's as weird and crazy, but probably a lot better than. Did you ever see that Phantom of the Opera? The initial like music video they did for it with Sarah Brightman.
I did.
Like,
oh, I remember with that wild frizzy
happening?
80s hair going down the Candle River. Yeah, that whole thing.
Yes, and like he had like a lion mask on, and you're like, what am I watching?
Yeah, it was.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was extremely 80s.
Yes. Oh gosh, it was wild. Are you guys excited about the new Frankenstein coming out?
So much.
We are very excited.
Yeah.
We are looking at the theaters.
Yeah, we're just waiting.
I think I just asked you the other week. I was like, is it out yet? Is it out yet?
Yep.
And
nope, we're watching for it,
yeah,
waiting for it to hit theaters. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Like that is Frankenstein is my favorite gothic horror novel. It is easily my favorite. It is the most complex, the deepest, the most interesting, I feel. Like I love that book. I don't want to spoil that book for anybody. Let's just say if you haven't read it and all you've done is like, I don't know, maybe seen the Universal original or like gotten a little bit from the zeitgeist as far as what the story is. No, you really don't know it. Please read the book. It's so good. It's so good. And I've heard that
It's like cyclical revenge.
Yes. It's actually really complicated. It's like the classic is like, no, Frankenstein's the doctor, not the monster. He's like, no. If you really read the book, no, Frankenstein is the monster. That is actually correct. But everything I've heard about the new movie, it sounds like it's actually getting a lot of that right. It's actually putting in a lot of those scenes that they always skip in every interpretation of the movies I have ever seen. It's like it's finally the Frankenstein that I've just always waited for, and I'm really excited to see it.
Me too. I'm just my fingers are crossed they're doing it right because the De Niro one almost was right until it just went crazy at the end. I was like, okay, this isn't even the same story anymore. What is happening right now?
Yeah, I also don't know how I feel about De Niro's the Frankenstein, like the makeup that they did for him and everything. It just I don't know. It was kind of I don't know about that one. I was the Universal original for that one. That one was much more iconic and I don't know, felt more like a created man.
Yeah, I think the most surprising thing, which is kind of it's not really a spoiler because it's there's so much more complexity to it, but the fact that it's not just like some like wandering monster that moans, it's like a very intelligent being that's just trying to learn and is very curious.
Yeah, like early on, without spoiling too much, but he taught himself how to read just watching someone else over the course of like a year. I mean, think about how that would take in real life. That is incredible. It was incredibly smart, and they always skip that over to make him just a brain dead lumbering oaf.
Because it's a dead guy.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole Bride of Frankenstein happens in the book very differently. Very differently.
Oh, very different.
That's good. So Frankenstein's your favorite Gothic novel. Gabby, what's your favorite Gothic story?
Oh, so I always have to say like Bram Stoker's Dracula for sure, but there is one author, and I'm so glad I get to talk about her, who's one of my favorite authors, is my favorite author, who does horror books on about haunted places and experiences and investigations, and her name is Darcy Coates, and I absolutely love her books. They are like true horror books about people who are going, like, she talks very much in depth about the psychology behind the characters and the paranormal experiences that they're having in these houses. So if you haven't had a chance, if you like, reading about hauntings and so forth, and she does series too, like with she puts in some romance there too, but her books about the hauntings, there's not, at least I haven't run into a lot of romance with those. It's just people experiencing really scary stuff in these houses. So if you haven't had a chance to read her, like, I would check her out for sure.
That sounds amazing. Right up my alley there.
Yeah. And they're scary. Like, I've read her books sometimes at night. I'm like, I need to keep the light on. Like one of her books, like Haunting of Carrow House, I think is one of the most terrifying ones that I've read so far from her. So
I like the scare. I feel like I'm torn between Dracula, because it's just not what you would expect and so wonderful. And I've gone off in a million Dracula rants, so I feel like people will just be hearing it all over again. But that, or Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is so good, and it's so different than what you would expect, because it's written in the point of view from the theater owners, Andre and Fearman, and bro,
it is such a different experience than watching the musical or watching one of the old films, if you want to go that far back. It's just like, it hits very different, the book does. It is much more of a ghost story, even though ultimately, anyone who knows Phantom knows that it's exactly a ghost story, but it feels like that in the book.
Yes. There's also this, it was very forward for me, because I'm reading it, and there's this thing where Christine kind of tells off Raoul a little bit, like, leave me alone, and she does it in such this, like, I'm a woman of my own right, Mr. Deschamps, and it's like written in 1890, and you're like, you go, girl. Like, 1890, and you were standing up for yourself.
Yeah, she was much more like, much of a much stronger person in the book than she ever was in like any of the movies or the famous musical. Like, for sure, she was much more like active, much more what's the word for it? She stood up for herself.
Yes, she did. And the reason I like the musical so much is it takes some of like the whimsy of the really important scenes of the book and adds it there. Like, there is a masquerade. There is her father's violin, and he plays her father's violin for her at his crypt, and they actually sing Little Lottie. Like, it's like the lyrics came from the book. Like, there's like these Easter eggs where you're like, a lot of the structure, especially at the end, changed, but like a lot of the key moments that are iconically Phantom are still in the book.
Yeah, like, I know we've talked about this at length, but like, the big change was just not having the Persian. Like, that changes so much. There's a detective just known as the Persian throughout the whole book. He's after the Phantom. He goes back. He has a past with him. He knows who he is to some degree, and it adds a little bit more of that detective mystery to the story that is just completely missing otherwise. There's no one that can take his place outside of like in the films of the musical. Like, no one really fulfills that role.
It's because it's in the point of view of Raoul, and so he's leading him to the lair. So it's like you get that extra layer of his story, whereas it's more focused on the Phantom in the musical.
Yeah.
But I agree, it's different.
Yeah. More focus on the Phantom's romance with why am I blanking on her name?
Right,
Christine.
Christine, thank you. Yeah, more focused on the Phantom and Christine and their romance, and much less focused on the history of the Phantom and the mystery of the Phantom.
Yes. And it's like questionably a romance because I don't think that was like the intention was that they were like really like romantically involved. Even though it's a love story in the original version. But then they kind of reneged on that in Love Never Dies because they had a kid. So just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. Jimmy, what's your craziest experience ghost hunting so far? I know it's silly to call it ghost hunting, but doing an investigation and
I haven't had too much happen to me so far, but there was a moment. It was definitely like loud enough for me to tell. It sounded like footsteps, about 3 footsteps. I remember when there were 4 of us at the time. We were on the 2nd floor of this house, and I very clearly heard like 3 footsteps, like a boom, boom, boom. It very much sounded like that cadence. It sounded like it was on wood. Like it was very clear. The thing is, the only 4 of us that were in that house at that time were all standing in a circle. No one was moving. And I remember turning to, I can't remember who I turned to, but I said, just looked at him. And he said, yeah, I heard that too. And we tried doubling back and like double checking. I remember we radioed in and it was like, is anyone else at the house right now? And no one was there. And I don't think we ever got a good explanation for that one.
Oh, I remember this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're radioing headquarters. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Write that down.
It's funny.
Yeah, I ring a bell. I'm like, oh yes, I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was weird.
Yeah. My, like, unfortunately, like the most strangest in-depth experiences I've had have never been in situations where they can be recorded because they're just like in between being awake and sleeping. Because I've had a lot of the sleep paralysis stuff, and that just is what it is, and that's all like, scientifically debunked. We all know what sleep paralysis is. But there's been a couple of times I've woken up kind of in almost that state and heard a voice that has said something that has come true. And I can't debunk it because it's come true. And I have no idea what that is or what that means, but it's happened a couple of times.
And it's like come true. Like,
yeah.
Wow, that's almost like, I know that there's a lot of controversy around this topic and skepticism around it, but you think about, people's perceived paranormal abilities as well. Like,
right.
A different like people's perceptions, like intuitive or sensitive or so forth, and they're I mean, people have had very real experiences where they've been able to have some kind of like psychic experience like that, and a lot of people are completely unaware of it until they like talk about it with somebody and they're like, oh gosh, like have you ever thought that you might be sensitive or intuitive or so forth? So I was just like curious on that subject. What are you guys' thoughts about psychics and mediums and intuitives and so forth?
Personally, I'd say like I don't know. I think that is the strongest, most reasonable answer that I can give. I don't know. There are so many things that I don't understand, so many things that I don't know. It could be real, and I recognize that there is a lot of evidence that it could be real, and it might not be, and I understand that there's a lot of evidence that it might not be. But I don't feel strongly enough that there is enough evidence either way to say for sure. So I'm just going to go, I don't know. And I would love to see more information. I would love to see more.
Yeah.
I like your I don't know because I'm in the same page. However, on the same page, I don't know. I think our brains are capable of much more than we realize. I think that there is definitely the possibility that there's so much more going on there that we just don't know, making something like that possible. I did a lot of work studying on the collective consciousness with the Monroe Institute, and there's some good hard evidence on, for the collective consciousness. They taught monkeys on one side of the world to utilize a tool, and then all of a sudden monkeys on the other side of the world start knowing how to use it. Like there's just, and there's these algorithms out there that measure the data of what's out there basically, and there are like days of global catastrophe. There's like dips in the like what they're reporting on. So I feel like there's definitely something more there. I think there's some kind of thing that connects us all together, which could explain a lot of the the psychic stuff. And I've had several things like that I just can't explain, that I'm like, oh, that's really weird, that's crazy. Does that mean I'm like convinced that's what it is? No, but I think it definitely is weird, and there's definitely something there worth being explored.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a couple of research papers out there that look at the psychology behind perceived psychic abilities, and they do like qualitative analyses when they're diving deeper into, how do people who are self-proclaimed psychics, how do they, perceive their abilities and so forth. So it's almost like exploring further the psychology of ability almost.
Right. And me and Mike saw Banachek in Vegas, who will come in and say, I'm not psychic, I'm fooling you, and then do things, and we're both just like, but he's psychic though, right? How is he doing this? What is happening right now? How is this happening? I mean, he would say, write like a phrase on a piece of, there's no cameras, you're not being watched, whatever. Write a phrase on a piece of paper and stick it in your pocket and point at somebody. Your phrase says this. And he's like on the stage, and you're just like, how is this happening? Is this real life? The fourth number on your ID is a 7. Like the random person. Like, yeah. What? But this is magic, right? And he even says, I'm just fooling you. And I'm like, I need to know how this works.
Yeah.
Please tell me. We had a couple that was a friend, and the wife went up on stage, and they brought up another guy, and he's like, raise your hand and point to where, like, they're both blindfolded. Raise your hand and point to where I'm touching you when I touch you there. And he's touching just the guy. And the girl's also pointing at the same place the guy's pointing at, where she's feeling herself being touched in the same places, but he's just touching the guy. Like we're all watching this, right? And I'm like, how is he doing this?
Oh, and wow, that's wild.
Afterwards, she said, I swear he was touching me. I have no idea what happened.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is wild. Well, now we definitely have to check him out.
Oh, yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love magic shows and stuff like that so much.
He was one of the people that pretended to be psychic to fool the world, basically, with James Randi, like back in the day when he was very young. And now he's made a career out of just illusion.
So, like, on that, like, what do you guys think about those shows, like, when they have, like, Hollywood Medium and stuff like that? Like, what are your opinions on that? I mean, they're very entertaining. And, I mean, these mediums, that do this, I mean, they make a good amount, like, they make a good living and so forth.
Yeah.
I think they're too touched by producers to have anything genuine anymore. Like they might have started at a good place, but I feel like it's a lot of drama. It's a lot of like, I'm sure they get a lot of like data feeding from people on their team because they need it to be interesting for TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to say if there was ever something that they were like doing legitimately, but I feel like once it starts getting to that level, there's just no way. There's got to be something in there that's like pure corporate profit. They're just doing it to appease their producers.
Yeah. Like
Ghost Hunters was like
a medium in a way. So.
Yeah. Or Miss Cleo.
Oh my God, we used to prank call Miss Cleo every day, me and Marissa. We did. Oh my gosh. Ghost Hunters was like that too. I feel like it started very genuine, and they went to people's houses and they were trying to like, and they were plumbers, and 90% of those shows in the first couple of seasons were your house isn't haunted, your plumbing is weird, it's making these noises, your air pressure is off if you open this door, this opens, and it was very debunky, and I had a lot of respect for it. And then it kind of like, well, I guess wasn't doing as well as they wanted. So the further the show went on, the more it became like, oh, there's a ghost. Oh, there's a ghost. Oh, I heard this. And it became less debunky and more dramatic.
Yeah. They stopped thinking because that doesn't bring in the viewers.
Exactly. And I think that was just a footprint of like the producers being like, no, we need more drama.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Well, oh my gosh, it's almost been an hour. It was wonderful talking with you guys today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Of course.
Thank you so much for having us. We're
Thank you.
excited to kick off the spooky season here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you. And until next time, everybody, stay weird.